Hey guys, welcome back to another Live and Learn. I am your host, Alfonso Chavez, and this is being brought to you by Camera 64, your home for great tips and tricks, as well as great photography if you live in and around the San Antonio area. Today on the show, we're going to be talking about lenses and the difference between lenses and why is it so that certain lenses seem to give you the opportunity to take better pictures in lower light as well as being out in sunlight. What's the difference? We're going to try and break that down for you guys so you can kind of get an understanding of why that is. So we're going to go ahead and get right to it. Alan's on the camera behind you. You might get a glimpse of him, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay guys, great. What we're going to be shooting today with is my old trusty Canon T2i, and we're going to be shooting with a kit lens that I'm sure most of you already have in your bag already, because it came with the bundle most of the time that you bought, which included the camera, the 18 to 55, and then you also have this baby, which is the 55 to 250. Okay, that's going to be the first lens that we're going to be using in this example. Then after that, we're going to switch to the Canon 70 to 200 millimeters f2.8. I forgot to mention it, but this is a 3.5 to 5.6, where this is a 2.8, and I'm going to show you what the difference is, not only with light but also physically what the difference is between the two lenses. So we'll go ahead and show you that here in a second. So the first thing I want you to notice on this kit lens, again, this is the 55 to 250 millimeters, is the back side of the lens. I want you to take a notice how small that entry of light for the light to go into, and as I flip this around, you're also going to see that it also has a small entry point, as well as a very small exit point. This is the side that hits the sensor, so I want you to take a good look at that and realize just how small that is. And now in comparison, I'm going to show you the 70 to 200 2.8 opening and see what you think about that. So now I've got in my hands the Canon 70 to 250 millimeter f2.8, and I want you to take a quick look at the front of this lens. As you can see, it's a lot larger than the last lens, and it makes a huge difference in the pictures. Now I'm going to flip this lens over so that you can see the back side of this same lens again. Just notice how wide that lens exit is. This is the side that enters into the camera and hits the sensor. You can see how big that opening is and how much light actually hits the sensor on your camera. So now I'm going to bring the two lenses up together and we're going to take a look at that side by side. So now here I have both lenses side by side. As you can tell by the ends of the lenses, just notice the big difference. This allows 3.5 at its maximum, which is at 55 millimeters. It will allow you an f3.5 versus the Canon 70 to 200. Throughout, it is a 2.8 lens, which is the amount of light that comes in the back side here. So now I'm going to flip these for you. Oops, I forgot to take off the lens cap. And again, I want you to notice the difference of the two lenses as they are side by side again. This is the side where the light is initially coming into the lens to get to the camera sensor, and you can see there's a huge difference here. It's nearly double, if not triple, the amount of light going into your camera, which makes a huge difference, not only for the camera but also the quality of your picture as well. So you might be asking yourself, what's the big deal, right? Why is he talking about camera lenses, and why is he talking about the difference in the lenses? Well, to be quite honest, there's this one little thing that I've noticed, and even myself, I'm guilty of it myself, so don't think that I did not fall in this category, because I absolutely did. I always thought that it was the camera. I always thought that it was the lens on the camera. None of that is correct, to be quite honest. A camera is built to do one thing, guys, one thing, and that's it. Its only job is to capture light. So obviously, if you have a lens that is able to capture more light, then you're going to get a nicer picture versus a camera that's not able to. The best way, I guess, to explain this is it's kind of like going out into the rain on a rainstorm, and you get a little styrofoam cup, little 8-ounce styrofoam cup, or you get a big tub that's this big around, and you stick both of those out there in the rain. Which one do you think is going to catch more water? And that's essentially what it boils down to. The camera is just trying to capture light. So if you're in a situation like right now during the day and there's plenty of sunlight, I'm sure that you've taken pictures with your new camera during the day and have gotten some really cool stuff, and it's really nice. And you can do that with your kit lens because there's so much light available to you that you're able to take really nice looking pictures. But when that changes, or there's a change in that light, whether it's a cloudy day, or whether you go inside and you're shooting some basketball, or if you're shooting a party that's inside of a building that doesn't have good lighting, that's when you're going to really notice the difference. That's when your 2.8 lens is going to come into play, and that's what makes these lenses so important when you start doing some really serious photography. But in the meantime, if you do have a kit lens like my T2i, you can still get some good stuff. We're going to talk about other accessories that you can add to your camera that's going to help you get through those dark situations. And one of those things is being flash. We're not going to talk about flash today, but we will in the future. Flash is something that we add. A lot of people are scared of flash, but there's no reason to be scared of flash. And I promise you, once you learn how easy it is to use and add flash to your photography, you're gonna wish that you had done it from day one. And that's what I'm here telling you. If you're new and you got a new camera, we're gonna talk about that in the next episode, adding flash and why that's so important to learn right from the very beginning. If you learn to do it right, you're gonna have fantastic pictures along with your new camera. But in the meantime, I'm gonna take some pictures right now with my kit lens, my 55 to 200, and I'm going to take some comparison shots with my 70 to 200 millimeter, and I'm going to show you some little secrets that you may not think that you're able to create with a kit lens that you can still do. I'm going to show you that right now. So here we are back in my computer. I've took the opportunity to download my pictures from my camera and upload them into my Lightroom, and I use Lightroom Classic CC. And we'll talk more about that program later on as we move along. But for right now, I just want to show you those pictures that I shot with those two different lenses, the Canon 70 to 200 millimeter and the Canon 55 to 250. The first thing I want you to recognize and know right off the bat is that these pictures are taken in full sunlight. You saw how bright it was out there at the park. We were at Live Oak Park, and it was the middle of the day, so there's plenty of light there. That's the first thing I want you to know, because as we talked about, light is everything. If you have bad light, you're going to have bad pictures. If you have good light, you're going to have good pictures, period. So keep that in mind when you look at these. But there are some characteristics that I want you to look at, and I'm going to point them out to you, so that way you can understand how you can get away with using some of these kit lenses to kind of get pictures looking the way you want them to look at. So here's our first set of little pictures that I shot here, and it was just they have the gosh, I don't know what they call that. I guess the flying disc course. It's kind of like a golf course, but they use frisbees instead of golf balls. So this is one of the signs that's letting you know to be cautious of those flying discs. And I want you to notice, the first thing I want you to notice is the background. I want you to take a look at that here. And if you notice, it's got some really nice, pleasing background here. And this is same sign. I just changed my angle here. But I want you to look at that. gosh, that looks pretty nice, and that has some bokeh in it. But the main reason why it looks that way, why we have this really nice soft looking background, is because we have the 70 to 200, I mean 70 to 250 zoomed all the way out to 250. So in order for me to get this shot, I really had to back up. But the result you end up with is having a really nice soft background. And that is one of the things that the 55 to 250 people do not realize, that they can get a nice soft background just like a professional lens if they just back up and zoom your lens all the way out. And this works for any lens that has any kind of length. So if you have a let's say you have a 18 to 135, if you zoom it all the way out to 135 and take some steps back, you're going to get a nice bokeh. Versus if you're really up close, you're not going to get this nice pleasing background. You got to remember that background behind this sign is probably about a good, I don't know, about a good 200 or 300 feet behind there. So that's what creates this. And the reason why is it's a characteristic of the lens. So it's not really bokeh, it's actually compression. So what the lens is doing is it's taking a large area and having to compress it into view in order for it to fit onto the camera sensor. And so that's what you're seeing right here, is that going on. But now I'm going to take you over and we're going to look at that expensive lens down here. And I want you to notice it's going to be a little bit softer, but it's going to be pretty similar. Look at that. It's very similar. It's a little bit softer, in fact, because this picture was shot at 2.8, where the other one was shot at 5.6. So there is a little bit of difference there. But to be honest, I mean, if somebody didn't know, if somebody who's not into photography saw this, saw the first picture, they could easily confuse this for a 70 to 200. It would take somebody with a trained eye like myself to know that this, in fact, is a lot different or a lot more pleasing to the eye. But man, I mean, it is really close. You really have a hard time. Let's go ahead and look at the next one. Now, this one is this next one is going to be this is in fact a 70 to oops, I misfocused there. That just goes to show, see, it's not perfect. But here we go, next picture. This one is the 70 to 200. Oh, that one's out of focus too. See, it's not as easy as it looks. Here we go. This is the 70 to 200 at 2.8 still. And the first thing I want you to notice, the characteristics of this lens, being that it is an L series Canon glass, is that the sharpness. Look how sharp that picture is like that. I mean, it's sharp down to the details. Nice graduation of colors here. And but again, you get the nice pleasing background here. See how that looks? And you have it not only at the top of the picture, but you also have it at the bottom. And that's, keep in mind, guys, that's the 70 to 200. Let's go back to the other camera. And again, it's going to look pretty similar. Look at that. See how it's not as sharp? That's the first thing I want you to notice. It's not as sharp. But again, you can add sharpening in post. I could add sharpening right here and get some pretty good looking similarity. Look at this. I'm going to sharpen that up a little bit. Wow, look at that. Now it's pretty similar. But the one thing I want you to notice, again, look at the background. You got a nice, pleasing background. This would absolutely fool somebody who didn't know. And again, look at the top. You got the nice out of focus area up here. And you have a little bit of the effect in the front too. Not as much. I want you to note that. Not as much, but it's there. So if somebody who didn't know was looking at this picture, gosh, all I added was sharpening. That's it. And look how nice that looks. My gosh, absolutely beautiful. And then we're going to take a look at this other picture here too. Let's see. This one right here. And I want you to notice again, focus right here. Out of focus back here. You can't even see the guy's face. The people that were out on their canoes, you can't even see their faces. And we're going to compare that to the other lens. And again, look at that. Very similar. I mean, you could easily fool somebody and they would not know. That they would be, gosh, that's a professional lens. Well, it's not. It's actually a kit lens. So keep that in mind, guys. Keep that in mind. Understand that. The biggest thing about today's lesson, more than anything, is I want you to understand this one simple principle. It's very hard for, even for me, I just couldn't get it into my brain that if you have good light, you're going to have good pictures. If you don't have good light, you're not going to have good pictures. Period. Okay? Doesn't matter the camera settings. So what does that mean? That's when flash comes in, because it doesn't matter where that light gets there, how it got there, just the fact that it's there. So remember that. If you go into a building and the lighting situation is very poor, if you take the time and set up a couple of flashes, put out a little bit of light, guess what? It's no longer a low light situation. It becomes a good light situation. And what happens in good light? Right, you're gonna get good pictures, guys. So remember that, and we're gonna talk about flash here pretty soon. But I just want you to understand light, light, light. Look at light. Notice where the sun falls. Notice where there's shadows. When you're in your house, stand next to a window. You're gonna see the light coming in. If you start paying attention to light, you'll really understand what I'm talking about. Okay, and it took me so long. It took me forever, me personally, forever to understand this, guys. So that's the lesson for today, guys. And I want to take the opportunity to thank you guys for being out here with me and watching these videos for me. And I'm gonna try and help you guys as much as I can. And if you want, you can always drop me a message, drop me an email, drop me on my website, drop me an email on my website. If you want to comment on this video on YouTube or Facebook, go ahead and do that for me, and I will try and answer the question as much as I can. But the point today, like I said, is just use what you have. We've already talked about accessories that I think you should have ahead of time. Um, Now we're talking about lenses, and I didn't talk about any kind of settings because that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about light, understanding how light gets into your camera, and how light is important for good pictures. So if nothing else, just learn that today. So that's your lesson for today. I am your host, Alfonso Chavez, and we'll see you in the next Live and Learn. Till then, you take care, guys, and have a great day, and keep shooting, guys. Keep shooting.